am going to talk today about what to do to get through the twin flame process. It's April 17th, 2019. I have been in contact with my twins since July 15th of last year, 2018. And I was aware of the man I had been looking for throughout my life, through signs and symbols and dreams and a lot of other things intuitively. But I didn't know what a twin flame relationship was. I did not know what I was getting into. I knew I wanted the ultimate love in my life. That's what I knew. And I had no idea. I had no idea what I was in for. It wasn't until months after we had met that I realized, I was looking stuff up online one day and the information came to me and it clicked and other things. And since that time, I have continued to remember things about our contract in life. And I have read, at least 6 books on it. I've watched hundreds of videos on YouTube. I've read thousands of articles on Pinterest. And intuitively, I've been just doing the best I can in this relationship. He's had a big part to do with it too. He's a earth sign, I'm a water. And his resistance, due to other things in his life, has allowed us to not get in over our heads. And I'm very grateful for that. Right now, we're coming into stage 4, which is union. What I understand that as from the perspective of where our relationship is that I will never feel, I'll have a set point of union with him in my heart chakra. I will feel like he is with me even if he isn't. And I think what happens is we just naturally come together due to that. Right now, most of the time I feel that way, but sometimes I feel absolutely exactly the opposite, like extreme resistance from him, which is mirrored as resistance in me, which I'm working through right now, because I feel angry about things that have happened this year. I don't know how we've made it 4 months into the year before having to break off communication, because there was just so much triggering of each other happening all the time. And the reason why is very obvious why we made it 4 months, and that's because the love there is real and deep. There's a soul connection that can't be denied, and so those things washed over very easily, but at the same time, they were building up. So I want to talk about how to get through this situation. Let's see, what else do I need to say about where we are right now? I think one of the most important things that was revealed to me at a certain stage was that once you meet your twin for the first time, there is going to be an extreme resistance to grow inside of you that's going to make you want to revert back to maybe an old relationship, whatever your comfort zone has been in the past, which isn't good for you, but the mind, your body is not going to want to go through this. I had no idea, I'll tell you that much. I had no idea the challenge that was going to be on my path to go through this. Oh wow. Right now, I am physically sick. I literally, my old self is dying. I have congestion. I was on medication for 20 years. I was severely ill. This relationship brought total healing into my life. And I'm still resisting the process. And this is almost a year later. After we met for the first time, I wanted to go back to an old relationship that I instinctively, I had no desire for this relationship. It was terrible. It was unfulfilling. It was nothing good. And I still had, that person was reaching out to me, and I was tempted to go back, and I had to remember the information that, it was my body wanting to go back to that comfort zone. And unfortunately, my twin wasn't studying this stuff at that time, and he did go back to his old relationship, which brought him into the low, which was really the crux of our relationship this year. But in all actuality, it turned out really good because we hadn't done the work to not be triggering each other. Just on the sense of, I am the more spiritually attuned one. I've been working on really my spirituality and a lot. And so when I'm healing in this relationship, he's healing automatically. I'm not really sure what he's doing for work, as far as like the personal work and everything. We haven't connected on that level. I mean, the feeling is there, but the chaos in our lives have totally distracted us from any kind of real effort towards something, And so when you do meet your twin, it's important to know that you're going to want to go back to those old things, and just to catch yourself. Just be like, oh, this is me resisting what I need to go through to get through this. So let's see. I'm going to move this a little closer so you can get kind of like up here and see me a little better. There we go. Hi. Hello. So I'm just going to break this down into three steps and make it really easy for you. Number one, this is how you get through the twin flame relationship. Number one, love yourself. Loving yourself is number one, and this is a process. This is a process, and it takes a lot of space. It requires a lot of discovery of who you are. And the part of it that I'm on right now is really paying attention to how I treat myself. And how internalized this self-love is. So I'm going to tell you what I've done to get to this stage. First of all, I've done the best I could do. I am developing my abilities. After laying a firm foundation of my life for the last 7 years, I'm now going to the next layer, and I'm starting to work on my business foundation and look at what a life with a man would look like, and a family, and all of the really beautiful things that I have been working a long time to get towards. And one of the turning points in this process for me has been that one night I was really hating my twin. And choosing love is also a part of this too, because if I'm loving myself, then I'm going to be loving others. So if I'm not loving others, then I haven't gotten it yet. And there was one night that I was really hating my twin, and I did the mirror exercise, and I turned it inward, and I realized I was hating myself. And I went into this journal discovery and realized I didn't know who I was. And I thought if I really knew who I was, I wouldn't hate myself. And that led me on this spiritual quest of like the planets and the moons and figuring out like what the signs were saying about me, like, you know, my astrology signs and where I was in my life, like the tarot. That was my introduction to the tarot, and I've been doing that like fervently ever since. I now have like more decks than I want to admit. But this is all about finding out about myself. And you know, you have to be at that stage of life where when you find out who you are, you're willing to accept it. I've found out some really cool things about who I am. Like, I guess, you know, like one of the most profound things that I realized when I was praying one day is that, you know, my love is good. My love is good. And to take it beyond thought form where it causes us to react and to think about things and to put it into the heart and the soul are two different things. So you might know things in your head, but are they in your heart? Are you living from your heart? Loving yourself is living from the heart. And I really hope that by sharing this message today, it makes sense to you. This is one of the most difficult subjects to talk to. I'll tell you, it's alienated me from everyone in my life. Because there's a learning curve to understand it. I've talked with I know a woman who knows her twin, and even hearing the situation and having and being experienced with it still makes you confused about it. It takes a lot of energy to correctly communicate these situations. And having a couple good friends is really, really important, because when I'm able to be heard, it's just been a really important part for me. What I realized with my twin is that I'm so comfortable with him, and it's so natural for me to love him and to receive his love that it's made so many other relationships make sense to me, on the sense of like, okay, this just really doesn't work, you know? And so that's another part of the separation that's happened for me, and it hasn't been anything personal at all. It's just part of the journey and finding where you can bloom. And that's incredibly important for self-love is having an environment that you can bud and bloom and grow and have fruit in your life. What else for loving yourself? So I started out, with the hate. And then, I found out some things about myself that have been pretty cool, and I've been developing my spiritual abilities. I've come to the realization that, I've really, really spiritually suppressed myself, and it hasn't even been in that sense. And now we're coming into the stage that I'm in now. And there's been so many other details and things that have been brought up on my path, but I hope by illuminating some major points for me that you're able to use it in your life too, and that it will help you on your twin flame journey. So the part I'm at now is the internalizing of the love, and the hard lesson I had on this is that I realized last weekend, and it's funny because once you're ready to grow on this journey, it happens fast. That's why my body is literally like almost breaking down right now. For the last 2 days, my throat's been so sore, I literally couldn't even function. And my prescription's been really strange. It's been self-love. It's been getting out in nature. It's been, taking a nap during the day. I mean, it's really, really not an easy process. But I think by equipping ourselves with information, it's a lot more natural, and we can give ourselves a break. That's an important part of self-love. And so this part that I'm on right now was that realizing that I had a lot of anger still, and I couldn't figure out what the source of that was. I was, doing historically what we do with anger. We point fingers. Oh, it's from this, it's this person, it's that, this issue, this situation. I'm still holding on to my anger over this. And I was in a frenzy about where this anger was coming from, and it wasn't making sense to me until I had my breakthrough, and I realized that it had to do with the self-hate, but this was I needed to forgive myself for treating myself horribly my whole life. I have been so mean to myself. I have not given myself any breaks. I've went through horrible situations, and I've never had compassion for myself. I think I needed that mentality, honestly, to get through what I've went through. I don't think I would have made it unless I had that. But now I'm starting a new life. This is literally the start of a new life for me. This is a total transition. My body is emptying from all the past. All the baggage. All the baggage is being like sucked out of me. And I've been working now half of this week on forgiving myself, letting go of my anger for myself, and finding my self-love, which if I do this, then what is left of the other pieces will come as well. And I don't know if I should make this long or short. I'm just gonna talk. I'm gonna be natural. I'm gonna break it down for you the best I can. I'm gonna level with you. I want to be there for you wherever you are on your journey, to buffer things and maybe to give you some warnings on what's coming. I don't want it to be as hard for you as it's been for me. Self-love. Self-love. When we love ourselves, it's natural to love each other. It's natural when other people are hating something and just wrong, or just in, acting out on their pain and what's bothering them. It's just natural to meet them where they are. And the next part, the second part, is loving your twin. Loving your twin. What that's meant for me is the choice to show up for him. I'm the divine feminine. That in itself has been a whole thing I've had to unravel and find in myself. It was natural at first, and then I reverted back to my masculine properties that's guided me through my life. And really just finding myself in that way has been part of loving him. At the beginning, it was forgiving him. He wasn't doing anything wrong, but he was triggering me. So I had to continuously forgive and show up and be patient. When he ended up going back to his ex and it caused him to go to a really bad low, I was able to love him where he was to the best of my ability. I'm not saying I was perfect, but I could still show up for him. I could still be there for him. I could still be patient with him. Right now, loving him means feeling connected to him all the time, and really being able to see always that if he's triggering me, it's not even about him, it's about me. And that's literally the full 360 in the situation. So first of all, you have to be aware of what's happening and to forgive and to get there. But then eventually it becomes turning it around back into myself. And that's what makes union possible, is that I would be able to see right away if something's making him mad. For example, I'll tell you one of the things that's really bothered me this year is that he wasn't available for me. And I was putting all this energy into being there for him and totally neglecting myself. So while my attention was focused on what he was doing, it was really what I was doing to myself. I was neglecting myself. I was neglecting my life. I was putting him ahead of me. And that's just not gonna work in life. And that's been part about finding my divine feminine too, is that the man is the giver, not the woman. I can love him and do all that stuff, but he has a responsibility to show up for me, and then it's my turn to be available for him. I'm not the go-getter in this situation. And so loving him is allowing him to love me. But also, more importantly, is right now, since there's been a lot of things exchanged this year that are going in my mind, and I want to react to them, and I still am holding on to things, and there's a part of me that doesn't want to come into union with him. Even if it's not in the physical, material world, I don't want to forgive him, which is actually me I need to forgive still. So all of this stuff is interconnected. All three of these things are really, really interconnected. They all have to do with each other. If one's working, they'll all work. If one doesn't work, none of them will. And it's really that simple. See, I told you I'm going to break it down for you so you can get through this. It's simple. It's simple, right? And then we, telling ourselves that can help us out a lot. It's been so hard for me to figure out this shit. I'm sorry, it was. It's just been hard. And I've read like, there were nights I read a whole book in one night, and the next night I read a whole other book, and I was just exhausted. I couldn't figure out, like, putting these pieces together. It's like, what video do I need? Where's this information going to spirit? Like, help me. It's really, really hard if you're doing it by yourself. But if you get the right information, all you need to do is be like, hey, she broke this down for me. This is easy. And you can get through it. You know what I mean? Be patient with yourself. Love yourself where you are. Back off. Don't be afraid to back off. I'll tell you, I was afraid to back off because I have severe control issues that I'm getting over. And and I'm telling you, that's one of my weaknesses. I had put a foundation down before I met my twin on working on that, and this is really, really full circle for me on that. Right now I'm just letting it go, and the more I let things go, and that's part of the self-love, that's part of loving your twin. It's part of connecting to the divine. It's all a process of letting go, because the letting go is trusting. What do I want to say that would make sense for you on this? What are we trusting when we do that? You're trusting that there's a force that's going to take you all the way through exactly as it needs to be. And when we put our self-will into that and try to fit things the way our mind says they should fit, not only do we lose out on the beauty of our journey, but we alienate ourselves. We make things harder for ourselves. I think one of the most important lessons I've learned in life is just to let it all go and do what feels right. Let me tell you though, I've put a lot of controlling efforts into being able to do that. I've built up my character to where I trust myself. I've built up my relationships with people to where I trust myself in them. There's a lot of things, and that's part of the foundation that was laid in my life. And I don't know what to tell you about that. I don't know how to do it any differently. That's my background, and that's what worked for me. And I'm not saying that's the right answer. I'm saying that's what is allowing me at this point in the game in my life to let go, is that I know I can trust myself in situations. I have a long history. I know what my triggers are. I know I've seen myself at my worst. And I know what not to get myself into. I know, like, so many things. And right now, letting go of that control is huge. And it's part of what's stopping me from loving my twin flame right now. I want to control the situation because it's safe for me right now to not let him in. And it's not him that I'm worried about, it's me. If my self-love reference, I'm going to give all this up at the full moon on Friday, by the way. All of the baggage inside of me. It's seeing him for being my teacher. And because I'm still seeing him as an enemy, I'm still holding on to things in my past that I haven't given up. Because when I give them things up that are no longer serving me, old ways that I didn't know how to do any better on, if I give that up, love myself, I'm naturally going to see that he is not a threat for me, because I know us on a soul connection. And what I just said right there is really, really, really deep. So you might want to rewind it, or you might want to just ignore it, or maybe you got it. I don't know. But like what I just said right there is very, very deep. It's an intrinsic part of this development of the twin flame journey. So I'm going to go into the last piece now, and that is loving the divine. Loving the divine. Well, I'll tell you, me and God are buddies. The divine has a huge connection to me. Actually, I'm using someone else's words right now because I went into a spiritual teacher a couple months ago, and she said when I tell her certain things about, spirits, she'd get lights, and she's like, you're very connected to the divine. So I'm using her words right now. But yeah, that's true. I have spiritual gifts. I have spiritual knowledge that's beyond normal understanding. I've gotten visions. I can see past lives. I have visions for the future. All that crazy shit. I am there. But what that can mean for someone who isn't tuned in is an understanding that all things are working for the good, and that there are essences in people, in things unseen, in planets, in nature. There are essences that allow this to happen. When we judge, we separate ourselves from the divine. So what the goal in loving the divine is unconditional love. This is an elevation of spirit that in the past has been so rare that only like 5% of the population ever made there. I have been there now for a few months. Even though we've been working through kinks, I have been there. And it's becoming part of my process now. I'm going to reach enlightenment. My timeline that I was given by Spirit was 3 months. And actually it was funny because I'm just going to kind of go off on the side here because this is interesting to me. I received a message from Spirit that I wouldn't be the first one to know I was enlightened. It would be someone else. And then I went into that spiritual teacher, and she told me that day, she's like, you are already enlightened. You might not realize it yet, but you are. And so it was kind of funny. But then I also got a timeline that in 3 months it'll be I have this thing about miracles. I've performed them in my life, and I want to perform them on others. And that's the whole goal of this enlightenment thing. But it's also just a really cool thing. It is like peace of mind, presence, inspiration on another level, law of attraction. And what that means to me on the sense of what I'm talking about right now is like, is there's an energy and a really good feeling everywhere you go with people, and by being in people's lives, you spread that to theirs, and I just think that's a really cool thing. I'm not going to talk to more about that, but for me on my journey, I've known since I was a girl that was going to be, I mean, it was weird for me then to think about these things, because I was like, well, I guess I thought I was a little crazy. But right now I'm like on that stage and it's all happening, and it's pretty cool. So back to the loving to the divine, a lot of it's about judgment. So on an intrinsic level, if anything anyone does upsets you, you're judging it, and you don't have a state of unconditional love. It's still difficult for me to express this because it still feels like new information, even though I've been working on it a long time, but I'm still trying to stay very aware on my reactions to people, especially like if I'm on Facebook and stuff. You know, am I seeing people, not as a judgment to whatever they're saying? Nothing should be triggering me if I'm in a state of unconditional love. And on a deeper level, if I connect with it, I can see people's pain. I can see where they're coming from. It allows me to meet people where they are, not by what they present. So we present something to the world a lot of times that, you know, isn't truly what we're feeling. It's the reaction, and so many people are in reactionary states in life, and I've been tuned into this for a while. And you know, I guess one of the things I think of a lot is show stuff, you know, ego, and all of this is a breakdown of ego. I'm not saying I'm there right now, because I still am sensitive to my twins' ego, which means mine is there. But coming down to these last layers of this growth, and I know I'm in the last stages of it right now, because it's the hardest part, because it's so deep rooted. And also it is, it's really life-changing. Like I can feel a whole different mind almost coming. My heart is changing. My body feels different. It's all interconnected. I'm way, like, I can feel the connection in my body more, like, you know, I can feel how, like, you know, my arm here is connected to my shoulder there, the interconnectedness of everything. And it's a really, this also is a very deep discussion, and I hope I don't alienate you by expressing these things, but intrinsically that is what's happening when you find a state of unconditional love. And I don't know if this is going to be helpful for you. If you leave some comments for me, maybe I can explore this some more, break it down for you more. Let me know if you like the video by liking, subscribe to my channel. I do music and poetry and stuff, and I'm starting to do stuff along the lines of this twin flame relationship and my new mentality. So it's going to be really exciting to see how all that forms. It's going to be really positive and awesome stuff. Like, my poetry reminds me of Rumi stuff right now, and I love it. I just love the ideas I'm getting, and how this is expressing itself in my life creatively. So please follow me if this relates to you and you feel like connected to me on this level. And I hope that you're able to at least get little pieces of this, and if you have to go back over it, I don't know a way to say it on surface level, because this is not surface level stuff. This is deep soul, philosophical, the nature of I want to say like the nature of like mother nature, Gaia nature, you know, foundational, like transformative, like goddess quality information. So take what you want and leave the rest. And I'll tell you, I do believe that if you want fantastic, awesome, if you want the best things in life, you gotta put the best into it. And that doesn't mean you have to force it or stress yourself out, but you have to show up. You have to show up for it. And you have to let it happen. And if something in your body wants to flight and go the other way, know that's part of your conditioning. I mean, if the information sounds good and true to you, then it's part of your conditioning that is wanting to resist. And you can allow yourself to fall into it and to continue the process regardless of how bad you want to resist. You'll know when it's time to go ahead. Be patient with yourself. Trust yourself. Love your twin. Love life. I am really enjoying this thunderstorm today. I feel like it's just washing away things for me. And this week is all about